What if I told you that the soreness you feel after every single ride is not normal? That bad hip, that tweaky back, that shoulder that always aches, that stuff is not just part of being a rider. It's a warning sign. And here's the most important part people don't want to hear. Your horse is paying the price for it every single ride. Today, we're going to talk about the normalization of pain in the equestrian world and why it might be the most dangerous thing happening in our sport right now. Hi, this is Coach Sando here coming at you from the Strength Stable in Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome back to the channel. Now, before we dive in, if you are serious about becoming a stronger, more balanced, and more confident rider, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the ring notification bell so you never miss an episode. We drop new content every week, all designed to help you and your horse perform at your absolute best. All right, let's get into it. All right, let's start off by acknowledging something. Riders are some of the toughest athletes on the planet. You fall off, you get stepped on, you get kicked, you get right back up and get back in the saddle. That resilience is something I deeply respect. It's one of the things that makes this community so special. But there is a dark side to that toughness, and we need to talk about it honestly. We have built a culture where pain is a badge of honor, where pushing through is always the right answer, where admitting something hurts feels like weakness. And because of that culture, riders are walking around with chronic pain, compensation patterns, movement dysfunctions, and they just have to accept it as normal. I hear it all the time. Oh, my right hip always acts up. My lower back is just tight from sitting the trot. I've had this shoulder thing for years. And then they pop a couple ibuprofen and carry on. I want to be as caring as possible here, but I also have to give it to you straight. That is not okay. That pain your body is sending you is a signal. It is a bright, flashing check engine light on your dashboard. And when you ignore it, you do not stay the same, you get worse. And you start a compensation cycle that directly impacts your horse. Let me break this down so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. A compensation cycle is what happens when your body works around a problem instead of fixing it, and it is incredibly common in riders. A real world example is, let's say you have a low grade pain in your right hip flexor. It's not terrible, just a dull ache that shows up when you ride. To avoid that ache, you unconsciously, big word there, unconsciously shift your weight over to the left just so slightly. Maybe you brace your right leg a little. Maybe you don't even sink into your right stirrup as much. You probably do not even notice when you're doing it. It happens below the level of conscious awareness. But your body notices. Now you're on the left side. Your left hip, your left low back, and oblique have to work overtime to pick up the slack. It is carrying more of your weight and doing more of the stabilizing work. For a while, it can handle it, but after a couple weeks, months, even years of this, that left side starts to get fatigued. It gets tight, and then it starts to hurt. Now you have pain in your right hip and your left back. So what do? You start compensating for the compensations. Maybe you round your shoulders to take pressure off your low back. Maybe you start using your hands more for balance because your core is compromised. It is a domino effect. And what started off as a small, manageable issue on one hip has now created a web of dysfunction throughout your entire body. You have become a crooked rider. And the animal underneath that crooked rider is your horse. This is the part that I think most riders do not fully grasp, and it is the part that I want you to sit with. Your horse is a master of compensations. Its entire survival as a species is based on its ability to adapt. When you, the rider, are crooked, your horse has two choices: fight against the crookedness or adapt to it. And most of the time, to keep you on its back and to do its job, it will adapt. Think about it like this. Imagine you are carrying a backpack, but all the weight is packed on the right side. At first, you would just feel off balance. But if you had to walk for miles like that, you would start to adjust. You would hike up your right shoulder, you'd lean your torso to the left, you change your stride. You would look crooked because you're trying to manage an unbalanced load. That is exactly what your horse is doing underneath you. Every single stride, every single ride. And the sign can be incredibly subtle. It is not always as dramatic buck or a bolt. It is the horse that is stiffer on one rein, the horse that always picks up the wrong canter lead, the horse that drifts to one side of the arena, or whose saddle is always slipping to the left. We blame the horse. We blame the saddle fit. We blame the footing. But so often, the root cause is us. The horse is creating a compensation pattern to mirror our own dysfunction. That stiffness in his right shoulder, it might be because you're collapsing through your right hip and he's even trying to hold you up. That resistance on the left rein, it might be because you're blocking him with your tight left oblique. The horse is not the problem. The horse is the symptom. Let me walk you through 3 injuries I see riders normalize most often and what they're actually telling you. The first is lower back pain. This is the number one complaint I hear, and almost universally, it is not a back problem. It is a core stability problem. When your deep core stabilizers, like your transverse abdominis, your multifidus, and your pelvic floor are not doing their job, your lower back muscles have to take over as stabilizers. They're not designed for that role. They're designed for movement. They get overworked, they get tight, and they get painful. The back is screaming because the core is silent. The second is hip flexor tightness. Riders spend a lot of time in that hip flex position, in the saddle, in the car, at home, sitting on a desk. And many of them do not get work to counteract that. The hip flexors get chronically short and tight, but here is the thing. Tight hip flexors are often a symptom of weak glutes. Your hip flexors tighten up to compensate for that instability created by the glutes that are not firing properly. You can stretch your hip flexors all day long and they will keep coming back tight until you address the underlying glute weakness. The third is shoulder and neck tension. Riders who are bracing, gripping, or using their arms for balance will inevitably develop tension in their upper traps, neck, and shoulders. This is a postural and stability issue. When your core is not doing its job, your upper body compensates, your shoulders round, your neck tightens, and you end up with headaches and stiff necks after you ride. The fix is not a neck massage, though it might feel good temporarily. The fix is building a core and postural strength that allows your upper body to relax. I know you're probably asking, so how do we break the cycle? The first step is the hardest for most riders. You have to stop normalizing pain. You have to start listening to your body. That ache is not a badge of honor. It is data. It is information. It is telling you where your weaknesses are and where the compensation is happening. The second step is to understand that the solution is almost always found off the horse. You cannot fix a deep-seated muscular imbalance or a weak core just by riding more. In fact, riding might be just reinforcing bad habits and deepening the compensation pattern. I call that feeding the dysfunction. You have to get off your horse and do targeted, specific work to restore balance, build stability, and create strong, symmetrical functions. And the third step is to get assessed. Stop guessing. Get objective data on how your body is actually moving. What we always try to do with our clients is to start with a full movement assessment so know exactly where the weaknesses are, exactly where the compensations are happening, and exactly what needs to be addressed. We are not throwing random exercises at the problem. We are building a surgically targeted plan based on real data. I want to leave you with this. When you do the work, when you address your pain, fix your imbalances, and build a strong, symmetrical body, the ripple effect is amazing. Your pain goes away, your riding improves, you feel more secure, confident, and more effective in the saddle. You give clear, more subtle aids. You can sit a bigger trot. You can follow your horse's movements instead of fighting it. And your horse gets to move freely. He gets to do his job without having to compensate for you. His back relaxes. His gait opens up. That stiffness on the right rein disappears. The saddle starts sliding. He becomes the horse you always knew he could be because you became the rider he always needed you to be. That is what is on the other side of the work. And it starts with one decision to stop normalizing and start doing something about pain. Here is your homework for the week. After your next ride, I want you to be a detective. Do not untack and just go home. Take 2 minutes, stand still and close your eyes, and do a full body scan from head to toe and then back up to the head. Where are you sore? Is it on one side? Is it your back? Is it your hip? Is it your shoulders? Do not judge it. Just notice it. Write it down. Writing things down is so powerful, and you'd be surprised on how much better and how much quicker you develop your skills by being able to write down what happens in lessons. Just notice your pain when you write things down. That is your first starting point because you cannot fix what you have not identified. All right, guys, that's a wrap for today. I want you to remember the big thing from this episode. Number one, stop normalizing pain. Number two, start addressing your asymmetries, your strengths or lack of their strength, your other imbalances that could not only be impacting your health, but your horse's health. And number three, once you start understanding how you're compensating, make sure you write it down. Document what you're feeling when you're writing. Make sure that you're keeping a performance log so that you can keep track of all of your rides and start making some notes on how you can be possibly writing better. It's not always about working harder. It's about working smarter so that you can be the rider your horse deserves. And if this video helped you, do me a favor, share it with a rider you know who needs to hear this. It costs nothing to do, and it could change everything for them. As always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for trusting me with your training. Keep up the great work, and I will see you in the next one.